They are assigned to take care of the most vulnerable of us, but critics say the guardianship program is a system that allows some to be in it for themselves.
NBC6 investigator Miriam got results for a family going through a messy situation.
Guardianship programs were created to fend for people who have no one to look out for them. But in this case, as in many others, an elderly man ended up in a public guardianship, despite the fact there were people willing to care for him.
Juan Oria is now caring for the man who raised him.
They were exceptional parents, and what they did for me, I said I would do for them.
But after his widowed 88-year-old dad developed Alzheimer's and dementia, the family had a disagreement over who should care for him.
And we ended up in the court where the guardianship program was assigned to be the ward for my dad.
Last October, the guardianship program of Dade County was appointed Juan Pelayo Oria's guardian.
What they did immediately the next day is they canceled his nursing services, and they tried putting him like in a facility, which I was completely against.
While Juan fought to get his dad back, the guardianship program sent him this email to keep him from entering his father's home without their permission. Once he was allowed back in, he found himself paying out of his pocket for his father's nursing care and other bills that weren't getting paid. But he says the guardianship program wasn't good about reimbursing him from his father's account.
I've paid for every bill since November, to the point where now they finally reimburse for some.
That was August when Juan contacted us concerned about his father's finances. He says the program only sent his dad $160 a month to live, even though his retirement checks were for almost $950.
They never have answered, sent a reconciliation or an accounting of anything.
Carlos McDonald runs the guardianship program of Dade County.
We don't keep the money. We only use it for the individual, and we have to manage the budget.
He says the budget they created, based on what was in Juan's father's accounts, only left $160 a month.
It's not like you expected him to live on $160 a month.
Correct.
But it's what you had.
At that moment in time, yes.
After we contacted them, the guardianship program did send Juan an accounting for how his father's money had been managed.
Because you called, and now they noticed that the public was into it, was going to hear about it, then they reacted.
And now, nearly a year after losing him to the guardianship program, Juan won his fight to get his father back.
I can finally take care of him.
But that doesn't always happen. Lydia Abramovici lost guardianship of her mother to a private for-profit group following a family dispute.
Since they got the guardianship, my mother did not see one single penny from her money.
She says in her case, the guardians, attorneys, and others went through $400,000 her mother had saved for retirement. Then when her mom got sick and needed the money, it wasn't there.
My mother was a very good person. My mother didn't, the suffering, she didn't deserve it.
Lydia teamed up with Dr. Sam Sugar, who went through a similar battle over his mother-in-law, and created Americans Against Abusive Probate Guardianship. This year, their group helped push for a new Florida law that prohibits an emergency temporary guardian from becoming the permanent guardian. The goal? To prevent guardianship groups trolling for wards.
It makes abuse, neglect, exploitation of a ward a crime.
Now the two are hoping to get support for new legislation that would put a cap on fees associated with guardianship.
Once you take away the financial incentive for the attorneys, there are not going to be so many guardianships. They're not going to have the abuse.
In the meantime, they have advice for families fighting over their loved one's care.
The one thing I would tell a family who's thinking about doing a guardianship, settle your differences right now, today, this minute.
In Juan Oria's case, the guardianship program charged a fee of $41 a month while they managed the case, and what was left in the account was handed to Juan when he became the guardian. Private guardianship fees are much, much higher. NBC6 investigator Miriam NBC6 News.
And a reminder tonight, the NBC6 investigators are working for you. If you have a story you think they need to check out, send an email to NBC6investigators@NBC6.com, or you can call our tip lines.